What's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Odds Are podcast. I'm your co-host and semi-professional bettor, Chris. We got the other co-host of this fabulous show on board, Gabe. What's going on, sir?
Just chilling, man. And a wild card weekend, super duper wild card weekend, as they
Super
say.
duper. Yeah, that's what they were saying.
uh,
Yeah, we're here. I missed all of the games. I saw the Cowboys Bucks game. And I
Most
saw
exciting
like
one.
probably two. Yeah, that was probably the worst one of the week.
Yeah.
And then I saw like a little bit of the Niners Seahawks, but as we were
You
just
know what
talking
was
about
low key
before.
the most boring game?
What
The Vikings Giants won.
was it really? It seemed like there was
Like
a lot of
the
scoring.
it was a lot of scoring, but like it never felt like the Vikings were really in it. Like the Vikings
Really?
came down, scored the first drive. Dude, like in the first half, the Giants had 18 yards per play.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like they just did whatever they wanted. Saquon Barkley looked like he was like playing college kids or something.
I kept seeing that he was like just like Saquon Barkley 22-yard touchdown, like Saquon Barkley 28-yard. I
Yeah.
was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy
I
that
was
good.
I was saying that we were at that like Tom's Watch Bar in downtown, and it was like packed for the Vikings game. But I had my Giants wager, so I wasn't like too disappointed. Like it would have been fun to have the Vikings go on, but like I don't know, we've known they're frauds all year, and we bet against them a lot. So I wasn't really pissed off, but I was like with Jarek, and he was really bummed out. We got
Damn,
back to my place, and I turned on the Bengals game. He was like, "I don't even want to watch football anymore."
damn, he was that disappointed.
Yeah.
Man, how did you? I mean, he had to have known that this was coming. Like, I feel like
I don't know, man. We had 12 wins, right?
just
We
not when it
lost to a
mattered, I guess.
9-win Giants team. But like that's a I kind of got nervous like betting on the Giants. Like at the end of the day, like it's Daniel Jones
I
versus like
think
the
we have to
Vikings at
reevaluate.
home
I think we
and
have to
Justin Jefferson. I disagree. A bunch of people were like Daniel Jones is top 10. No, we're not going to do this every year.
Yeah.
We can't do this. Come on.
I wouldn't go as far as saying he's top 10, but I think we have to reevaluate. Okay, so for instance, like going into the season, I would have said Daniel Jones is one of the worst 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know if I
Yeah,
think that's true
not
anymore.
that bad. I still
At
think
least,
he's bottom half. So if you watch the highlights of the game, it's just like a Dable like masterclass. Like
yeah,
it looked like I don't know, just like one of those like college offenses where you just have like a very limited quarterback. But and still like the Vikings corners are getting worked by like Hodgins or whatever. He has I think in his 8 games he has 200 games against the Vikings. Crazy.
yeah. Did you see? Did you see that parlay that I had? I took his over receptions and over yardage totals because
Nice.
it was just easy. Like I was
Yeah.
monitoring it, and like within the first drive, I think he had like 2 catches for like 33 yards. I was like, this is gonna cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, I missed most of the games. I was like we were talking about before we started, running around Napa Valley, which is not a super conducive watch environment. But it's fine. It was good. Had a fantastic weekend, and it was a profitable weekend, which I was like monitoring on the app. It would have been a fucking crazy weekend if the Bucks didn't get blown out.
Yeah.
I like we were talking yesterday, so for a little bit more context for anyone listening, like I had a bunch of I think I had 10 units of teasers that were outstanding with the last leg all just Bucks 8.5 and
And it was
had
like
they
10 units to pay out what, like 30 something?
32, yeah. And they shot the bet on that, obviously. But I was a smart man and I hedged myself going in. So I put like 10 units on the Cowboys at -2.5, and then I took that alt line courtesy of you, kind of bringing that to my favor or bringing that to my attention. And ended up being fine. It was like a 2.5 unit day, which is always good. Like you'll take the profit regardless, but like it's just disappointing when you see 30 units just slip out of your hands because Tom Brady's a decrepit old man. But
Yeah.
I should have known.
Yeah. I had an amazing weekend, man. I didn't go like super crazy, except I kind of just like went all out on the Ravens and the Cowboys game just because I don't
Yeah.
know. I felt pretty confident there, but I was up 30 units on wildcard weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, yeah, 12.5 units like each day, right?
Yeah. And it
Crazy.
helped. I had like a little same game parlay for the Cowboys game yesterday. And then another one that almost hit too, like an even bigger one. But
Yeah,
uh
I saw that. I saw it was like
the
CD. Oh,
CD Lamb, yeah.
yeah. And honestly, if that was a more competitive game, I think he um probably would have cashed that for you.
Yeah, I saw a tweet after the game that was just kind of like lost in all like the pregame like talk and analysis of like Bucks Cowboys was just the fact that like the Cowboys were like a really good team almost all year, and the Bucks were just a not good team almost all year. But I
Yeah.
guess people forgot about that.
Yeah. I didn't like totally forget about it. I was kind of putting it into my cap, which is why I never bet on the Bucks outright. Or like I
Yeah,
really never bet on the Bucks outside of those teasers. Because I was like, I don't know. I mean, like Cowboys are definitely the better team here, but it's playoffs, it's NFL, crazy shit happens. So I wasn't sure. But wow, was I wrong to even think that they were going to keep it close? And then like Russell Gage got killed in the last like 2 minutes for nothing. Like
not to be dickhead, but I was like, they better finish this game. I got units.
that, yeah, RIP to Russell Gage, but thankfully, do we know what happened?
I don't know. I mean, he was moving after, like he was in pain. But then I guess they just stabilized him. But I don't think they announced it or anything. I guess you don't have to, right? When uh the season's over, like there's not as big as a rush.
Yeah, I guess they probably don't say anything. But hope he's okay. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so I mean, you're very much a believer that Brady's gonna take the show on to Las Vegas.
yeah. I don't know, but I think staying in Florida helps because he's broke and you got to maximize that income. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he's thinking about income tax. But I guess the Dolphins are also an option because that was like that plan a couple was it last year that came out with like Flores, where there's a discussion where Stephen Ross is trying to get Brady over. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
Brady moves over to Miami, upgrade from Tua. But I don't think Mike McDaniel would want that. But I don't think they care about what Mike McDaniel thinks.
Now that
Um,
Tua's gonna retire.
yeah. Also, sorry, skipping. I'm just gonna skip over it's just random parts of the weekend. But Mike McDaniel, like the Dolphins had a lead in the fourth quarter of that game, and it didn't look like Mike McDaniel was like really doing a good job or like it was an impressive game for him. Especially at the end of the game, like he kind of shit the bed with like timeouts and play calling.
Mm-hmm. I saw that like clock management towards the end, like not getting the play call and shit.
Yeah. Honestly though, when the Dolphins had the lead too, like I think Skylar Thompson like was like, what the hell is going on? Like they all looked kind of shocked.
That was one of the most frustrating games to like check the Action Network app, like
Yeah.
because I was like, oh shit, first half is gonna clear it regardless, and then like,
Yep. Because
nope.
they're up 17-zip, and then nope, they gave it up before half. Couldn't cover the first half, and I tried live betting the Bills, and I texted you to live bet the Bills, and you did without even watching the game off
Yeah,
my bad advice. I think we took -6.5, and I was watching the live bet options, and nothing ever came below a field goal, but that's what the Bills won by. Um,
yeah.
but I mean, that was another case where it's just like we've seen all year that like the Dolphins were just playing the Bills close. The first game, like statistically, wasn't that close, but it was still they won that game. Second game was a 3-point game, another 3-point game, like a 14-point spread, which but that's what it ended. That was kind of crazy.
I was sitting in the car on the way to like one of the wineries, trying to like figure out what to do, and I was like, do I play this 14? And I felt pretty confident the 10 and a half, so I was like, no, probably not. Um, the 14 was a dead like that was free money, especially like we were talking about like the splits and like how Vegas needed that to happen. Like it was
Yeah,
that's just like you follow the money there, or the opposite of the money.
yeah. I put a little bit on the 14, but I don't know. I never felt confident in it. But the Bills just they're not going to beat. They haven't been beating up on teams like that. And I don't know. They're
So
5-point favorite this week against the Bengals, which I think is a little funny.
yeah, I mean, like that's a good segue to talk about that. Like, what do you? I think it's too many points. I don't think the Bills like have they beat anyone of the Bengals caliber with that many points.
No. Well, I mean, in hindsight, right? Like the Rams, that was an impressive win, but the Rams ended up being nothing. Um, but yeah, that's just like not what the Bills have been. And this is the biggest underdog like Burrow and the Bengals have been since like the beginning of last year. I know, like, I think they're out two of their starting tackle or two of their starting linemen last week, and I think Alex Kappa might be back, but they lost their left tackle now, Jonah Williams, and he's most likely going to be out. But
Oh,
I mean,
really?
it's just back to last year's Bengals. Like we saw, like if any like team left in the playoffs is like prepared to, I don't know, just be without their quality O lineman, it's probably going to be Burrow, right? They have this experience.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Bills are healthy too. I think that's like what forgotten all this analysis. Like, I don't think people realize Von Miller is not on the Bills anymore, or that he has been like he's on IR. Like
Yeah.
this team is so beat up. They're only starting. They only have one starter left in the secondary,
Who is it?
Trey White, and he's a shell of himself.
I did see he had a nice pick like either last week or the week before, but
Yeah.
yeah.
He had a decent game against Skylar Thompson, but Skylar Thompson's not that good.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson. It's not like
Yeah, now he has to go up against Jamar Chase now.
yeah. I will say, and this actually might be a good segue into another game that we should talk about. And for anyone listening, what we're gonna do here is we're doing just now that we're in the postseason, we're gonna do a little bit of a recap of this last week's games. Like slightly preview the week upcoming. The divisional round that is. But then we'll be back with another show fully dedicated to a divisional round preview later in the week, probably sometime Thursday or Friday. We should probably do it Thursday so we can get it out Friday and people actually have a chance to listen for the games. And yeah, so that we're kind of just talking a little bit now, really about anything related to the NFL. So there's not going to be a lot of clear direction here. Sorry, it's probably bad podcasting, but deal with it.
Yeah, we talked about a structure before, but then we just started moving on.
Yeah. Now we're playing jazz, so just keep up.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I don't know. Like this one's hard for me. Like the Bengals. So I was high on them going into the season, and they did everything I needed them to do. Right, like they won the division, they cleared their win totals. They won that.
They finished the regular season as one of the hottest teams in football.
Yeah, maybe just behind like the Bills, right? Or sorry, the Niners. And I guess
the Bills and the Niners.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and the Chiefs too.
Yeah, and I think part of like what's reflected with this 5-point spread here is that like everyone thought they were going to steamroll the Ravens, but like the Ravens defense at this point is a better defense than the Bills defense. They got after Burrow relentlessly. I think he had like under 200 yards. I don't think the Bills are capable of that.
Yeah, I mean, we should like look at pressure rates and shit. But I know, I mean, like I had like a lot of Buffalo Bills on my fantasy team this year. And it's like there's a Twitter account called Banged Up Bills. It's like a doctor or like someone like a medical professional that's also just like a big Bills fan. And he basically like I don't know who runs the account. They like talk a lot about the injury report, and basically every single day it comes out, they'll be like, here's my projection for like what this means for this player and like how it will impact their performance, right? And like for the last couple of weeks, it's been dire. It's been like just a laundry list of players. They're like, yeah, this person's probably going to be at 75% capacity. To your point about the secondary, I mean, that's gotten so banged up. They lost both their starting safeties. I don't really know anyone in the D line now, because I know they've had a lot of injuries there. Matt Milano, linebacker, I think he's a Pro Bowler actually for them. He's been playing really well, and he'll still be there. But to your point, like I mean, the Ravens have been, I think, one of the top 3 defenses over the last like 5, like basically since Roquan Smith got there. And yeah, I mean the Bengals still found a way to win it. So I'm with you.
Honestly, we don't have the week by week filters for DVOA, and we have for weighted DVOA that Ravens are third defensively, which just means that like weighted through the season, like it's weighting the more recent games higher. But I bet, dude, if you looked at from the Roquan Smith trade, like the Ravens might be the number 1 defense according to DVOA since then.
Yeah, I really think they might be. That was such a massive trade for them. Like, I mean, as a Bears fan, like I watched Roquan from like rookie campaign, and like he was always really good. Ever since he's been in the NFL, he's been one of like the top, like probably 5 linebackers in the league. He just never really got like that respect or
Yeah.
notoriety for it. But I mean, yeah, he's a baller. So
Yeah.
the fact that like the Bengals were able to escape that one, I feel like this test will be a little bit easier. Granted, it's not at home. I don't know how much home field advantage makes for the Bills, but I feel good about the Bengals this weekend too.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen something that the Bengals defense has been better at home for sure. I also think it's just some of their quality opponents in their previous home games too have inflated that, like when they would fuck up on teams like the Panthers and the Falcons this year. But at +5, like I know we talked about, like if you're predicting outcomes for sure, of course the Bills are going to win this and they're going to win the Super Bowl, right? But 5 is just too many points. And if you're giving me money line +200, I think there's better than a 33% chance that the Bengals win this game, or 40% chance, whatever the implied odds for that numbers are.
Wait. So real quick, back up that statement. You think the Bills are just gonna waltz into the Super Bowl and win it?
Well, I'm just saying if you're predicting outcomes, right? Everyone thinks the Bills are the favorite, right? But we're betting a line of 5. You got to take the 5. It's just too many points. And a +200, like +200 for the Bengals in this spot, I think it's too good to pass up.
Agreed. Okay. Lots of thoughts circulating.
Those are bets I've made, by the way, too. I bet on the 4 and then it moved to 5, and I had to take it because it moved against me. And I also took money line already.
Nice. I'm gonna go ahead and hop into. I see this probably not getting much longer than 5.
I think it will go down honestly to 3.5, 3.
Yeah, I think I could see 4 or 3.5. I don't think it'll probably get to the field goal, but I like it at 5. I'll rock with a 200 too. Let me just make sure I haven't already placed this bet.
Because remember the matchup a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, it was initially a pick'em, and then it moved to Buffalo -1.5, Buffalo -2. But that real line there, and I think that was just because there was a lot of sharp money coming in on Buffalo bet in that first matchup.
Yeah.
That real line was a pick'em in Cincinnati. Vegas has told us that home field advantage, especially in the playoffs, just hasn't been as big of a factor. Buffalo wasn't able to rest, and I feel like the true line for this honestly is closer to 3.
Yeah, I think so. I think 3.5 feels like if I were making the market for this game, I'd probably set at 3.5 or 4. And adjust the kind of half hook there, depending on where money's coming in. But like, I feel good about the 5 for sure. Real quick, I feel like people are kind of forgetting about the Chiefs, just because like they didn't play. I think I really like the Chiefs to win the conference. The Super Bowl, I don't know, but yeah. So
Let's talk about this first game. How about beating Jacksonville? You think for sure?
I feel good about that. Yeah, Jacksonville.
Remember that was the game we bet on. We took the Jags +9.5. We had that as a card play. I think the Chiefs had like 500 yards of offense, but had like 4 turnovers, and that's the reason why the Jags stayed in the game.
And it was a 9-point game. I played it at 10 though. I bought it half point when it was at 9.5 to get it to 10, and that pushed because of those fucking those kicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really frustrating.
But yeah, the Chiefs had 500 yards of offense and a couple turnovers, and that was the reason why they didn't put up more points in that matchup.
Yeah,
because outside of that, and like the Jaguars defense still just hasn't gotten better. It's still not great, especially against the pass. But the Chiefs easily should have had 30 something, 40 points in that first matchup.
I mean, like, let's be honest. Like, by the way, I think you went 6-0 on the card last week.
No, I had Seattle.
Oh, that's right. But 5-1, goddamn, that's
yeah. And Seattle, I mean, they're up at halftime.
Yeah, were they actually?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't recognize.
We'll get to that game, but Seattle showed kind of some flaws in the Niners.
Okay. Honestly, let me make my my Chiefs point real quick, and then let's go back to Seahawks and Niners, because we said this was going to be a recap episode. And we're already talking about the games ahead.
Yeah.
So I just think because the Chiefs were on bye, you're getting kind of a discount. Like, honestly, this matchup, I truly don't know where the conference and Super Bowl future odds were last week. But I feel like the matchup the Chiefs did not want was the Chargers. I mean, like, that's a team that played them close both times. It's a division game. Like, that's the team you don't want to face, right? You have the quarterback with, at this point in their career, a higher ceiling, and the better defense. Now you get Trevor Lawrence on the road. I like him. I think he's going to be good, but I mean, he's still like, what? This is his second year.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, man. I think this is a great spot to buy the Chiefs. Like you can get them at plus 140 on the conference and plus 380 or plus 300 on the to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay, starting with this first matchup, Chiefs Jaguars. So at this point, like, or getting to, yeah, at this point, like, I would agree with you though. The Chiefs, they don't want to see the Chargers most weeks, but the Chargers almost had no offense second half because they had three wide receivers out there. Keenan Allen, um, who is a shell of himself, and then just almost two unreliable guys. I think DeAndre Carter like had an ankle injury, Mike Williams out, and Mike Williams is going to be out for the rest of the playoffs too. I think the Chiefs at that point, they welcomed this Chargers team, and Chargers defense was getting cooked by the Jaguars. Honestly though, I would also coach, if you consider coaching too, I would argue that Trevor Lawrence has a far greater ceiling than just not far greater, but a better ceiling, just because like Doug Peterson is going to set him up for success more than the Chargers coaching staff was for Herbert.
Yeah.
But I guess the Chargers are going to be changing that going forward. But I think at this point, like Trevor Lawrence, he was embarrassed, man. He had 4 picks in the first half. And it's funny too. I was just rewatching the highlights of the first Chiefs Jags game, and I think that game started 20-zip too before the Jaguars came back into it. So I mean, I don't know, maybe like Chiefs first half, if you can get that number, expecting the Jaguars to go down double digits early. But
Yeah.
I mean, this Chiefs defense is very bad too, especially against the pass. I think Chris Jones he might not play this game. I think he's on the injury report.
Oh, really?
I think so. Let me confirm that.
I mean, that's a pretty meaningful injury.
Yeah, or did I imagine that?
I
Okay, I
guess
might have
like
imagined that.
I guess where I'm kind of going with is like I'm looking at it more from a futures angle because
Yeah.
the Chiefs win this game. Like they're going to win this game. Like, do you think there's any chance the Jags are competitive?
I think both teams will put up points, and I don't know.
See, like the over.
I mean, I don't know. I told myself I can't bet overs anymore, but I did a good job betting team totals week 1 or wild card weekend. So maybe I don't know, man. I mean, like the Jaguars offense they can be explosive too. That's why like when they're down 27-zip, they can win these games. Like
So
I don't know. At this point, like the weapons Trevor Lawrence have, like we kind of laughed at it in preseason, but these guys are like pretty damn good and they're explosive. And ETN, like he looks healthy now too. I think he was like
yeah,
hurt for a few weeks, but
yeah. You know what's interesting about that is, I just remember the other day that Calvin Ridley's on that team too. Like, obviously he can't
next
play,
year, yeah,
but like, I mean,
yeah,
if you think those weapons aren't bad, like you add Calvin Ridley to that. Like Calvin Ridley was a top 5 receiver in the NFL when he was with Julio too. Like
yeah.
he was cooking. So that's going to be a dangerous team, but that's next year. That's not this year. I think the luck is going to run out. I think this is going to be. I think they're going to get dragged, bro. Like I like the 8.
Well, was it unlucky? I mean, they outgained the Chargers by the end of that game. Like, if it wasn't for the turnovers, like this game shouldn't have been close. Because Trevor Lawrence, I mean, it was like some of it was drops. There was one really bad pick. Asante Samuel made one crazy play too. One was a PI, but like 3 first quarter picks in opposing territory. That was the reason why the Chargers were able to get on the scoreboard. Outside of that, like this game should not have been close. But I mean, is that like that's Trevor Lawrence's flaw, right? If he did this in a home playoff game, what is he going to do in Arrowhead?
That's kind of what I'm saying. Is like you just can't make. I don't think he's going to come out here and throw 4 picks in the first. Like I don't see that. But he's
isn't
gonna
that
make
why you bet
mistakes.
on? Yeah, isn't that why you bet on the Chargers though? Like you're impressed with their passing defense. Like I think there were stats that said that like towards the last half of the season, they're almost like second against the pass.
Yeah, they were a top 5 pass defense in the last half of the season.
Yeah. Well, now he gets the Chiefs. They're toast.
Yeah, man. I just think that like they'll be able to get stops, because it's still a 2nd-year quarterback, 1st-year coach. Their line
Doug
is
Peterson,
banged up.
he's a veteran coach, man. It's not a first-year coach.
I mean, 1st-year coach on this team. Like, yeah, you're a big Doug Peterson fan.
He has a 5-1 playoff record now, right?
All right. Yeah, those Eagles teams were pretty good though. Like,
Yeah,
I,
he's still doing it. I mean, this team has basically been a playoff one, and they've won 7 straight too. I mean, besides those 3 teams we were talking about, they're on the next tier of the like hottest teams in football.
yeah, we're gonna have to table this and come back to it because we're on different sides here.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'd be willing to bet on the Jaguars right now. I think I did like
Wait, were you ride
parlays
or die? I
with
think
the
you were.
Chiefs. I'm just saying, like, I think they'll put up points.
I would have thought you were in
And I
Duval
have,
County right now.
I mean, I feel like just both teams put up points here. I don't know. Like,
I think the volume to which the Chiefs are going to score in this game is going to be it's going to be like a clinic. I mean, like the Chiefs score on fucking everybody, bro. And like this passing defense, we already acknowledged that like it's one of the worst in the league. And like that does not bode well for the MVP. Like if you were playing Josh Allen, who has shown that like, he makes mistakes, like you're playing Burrow where like you can get to him and wreck the game. Sure. Like,
yeah,
but this is Mahomes, bro. Like Mahomes is different, and like he's operating on a different level this year, and he tears defenses up. And like, if you're not coming with like a meaningful rush and you don't have good coverage, like he's going to exploit it. It's at home, off a bye. Like I just love this spot for the Chiefs. I'm way too high on them, and which means like, the Charger or the Jags probably pull out some backdoor cover. I don't really care because I think where I'm trying to get in is Chiefs to win the Super Bowl and the conference. I mean, the fact that we're still getting it at plus 300 when we're in the divisional round, like it was plus 350 like a couple weeks ago. Like you haven't lost
yeah.
much value on this for a team that I think people are kind of forgetting about.
So you think the Chiefs would be favored against the Bills or the Bengals though?
If they're at
Because I
home.
think that's another problem too.
I
They'd
think
only be
that,
home against the Bengals, a
um
Bengals team that has beat them 3 straight times in the last 12 months.
uh yeah, I mean, but then that even adds to my case because at a future, like you would love for them to be dogs because
So
or
I think the future doesn't matter. I think you just bet next week because I think it's going to be super close. Like Chiefs versus Bengals is going to be maybe Chiefs minus 2.5. I don't think they give out Bengals +3.
well then that way
And if
you can
it's,
you can hedge with a dog, and that's exactly what you want when you have a future.
but I mean, so you're not really getting like the benefit though if you just wait till next week. Like if you're just getting a +120 to -120, right, for winning this game against Jaguars.
Well, no, I mean, certainly the odds for the future if they advance to the next round will decrease.
But it won't be that much though, right? Because the future's already calculating that like they're an 8.5 point favorite. Because we know that like
Yeah,
they're
but
not going
that's
to be a big favorite against the Bengals, and they might be a dog against the Bills, neutral site.
maybe.
They might be a dog. No, they won't be a dog against the Bengals, but
They would definitely not be a dog at the Bengals at home.
yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying, dude, is like it'll definitely go down. It might not go down precipitously, but like what I'm saying is the reason I like this is because there's value here still. Like I would probably say this is Chiefs to win should probably be like plus 280, plus 275, and you can still get
The
it at three.
conference or the
No, the
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the odds are right because it's basically just factoring in that like next week it's going to be damn near a pick 'em, whether it's Bengals or Bills.
If
And then
it's
Super Bowl
Bengals, they're
wise,
probably 3.5 point favorites, 3 point
it
favorites.
won't be 3.5. It won't be 3.5, dude. The Bengals have beat them 3 straight times in
Yeah,
12 months.
I know.
They did it twice in Arrowhead.
I recognize that, man. We'll see. We'll see. I really like the Super Bowl future for the Chiefs, though. Is all I'm saying because you haven't lost
Yeah.
any value, and they're already in the second round, and this is the best matchup out of the remaining opponents. That's my thesis. Like
Yeah.
that's where you're getting the value. Whether or not you think the road to the Super Bowl makes sense for them, or you can see them winning the Super Bowl. If you're going to take a ticket, like to me, this is the ticket to take right now. Like looking at the three teams that trail them, the Bills, I have serious questions about the Bills. The Niners, and this is actually a good segue. We should get into that game. You said you saw some flaws in that game against the Seahawks, and then the Eagles at plus 525. I mean, honestly, if anything, like I'm gonna dip my toes into that Eagles ticket as well. Like at 525, that's almost as long as it was a couple weeks ago, and we're into round two, like off a bye. I just think these teams that get the bye, they get kind of forgotten about when we get to this stage of the playoffs, and I think that means that there's value on these futures.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that's kind of why I'm like, I think I think there is like some value with KC and Philly this week, and I put them in a teaser. Just KC under -2.5, Philly -1.5, because I think the Giants, people are surprised by that upset, and now people think that the Giants can go to the Super Bowl. I mean, we have that future, but I still think that's kind of trash.
We
And
have
the
a
same thing for the
conference feature, right?
Jaguars. Yeah.
You have a conference feature on the Jags?
No, on the Giants. I did not touch the
Oh,
Jags.
but I thought you were saying you had it on the. Oh, my fault. I was misunderstanding.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing is like next round, the Chiefs are going to have the worst defense left, right? Like you have the MVP, you have Mahomes, but it's the worst remaining defense out. Assuming they beat the Jaguars and assuming they beat the Jaguars, that's it. The worst remaining defense
In the entire playoffs?
Yeah. Well, the other teams, like the Big Five, we have the Big Six. They all have elite defenses, elite offenses.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. Give me 1 second. We're gonna take a quick pause, and we'll get back to this. All right, and we're back. Also, like as a part of bad podcasting etiquette, I'm eating during this. Like, we don't have a schedule. We don't have like a structure. We're kind of just fucking around while I'm eating dinner. So, happy Tuesday after I'm okay, everybody. But yeah. So let's talk a little Niners Seahawks. As long as we're doing this structureless podcast, just might as well fucking flip conferences too. So going over to that game, I missed all of it. I saw that the Niners really just like, or not all of it, I saw like a couple drives, but I saw the Niners really poured it on in the second half. But you're saying you saw some flaws?
Yeah. I think it's with the Niners defense. I mean, it's just the secondary isn't that strong. And Seattle they took a lot of shots deep. And DK was able to hit a couple. But that's it. That's their only weakness, though. Just like teams that can beat them deep. If they're in a Super Bowl against, I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs aren't that team anymore, but I think they could easily be that team. Or even the Eagles. The Eagles can be explosive. Like that could be a problem for the Niners in a matchup there. The Dallas Cowboys, though, this week, they cannot. They don't have a deep passing offense anymore. Dak attacks the middle of the field, which is the Niners' strength. Those linebackers are going to cook them up.
Yeah. So let's digest a little bit of that. So I think.
But with the Niners too, so I think my fear with the Niners, and that's why I bet against them last week, which is dumb. It's just Brock Purdy. This can't keep going. At this point, I don't even know, dude. Like he didn't have a great game. Statistically, it looks amazing though. I think it's statistically one of the best performances by a rookie in the playoffs. But he still looked like sloppy. Like it looks like he only has 2 plays, but like just give the ball to Deebo and Christian McCaffrey and no one can tackle them.
I was thinking like there's a lot of interesting stuff to kind of work through here. So like for me, the first thing that comes to mind, you were talking about preseason, like Kyle Shanahan is probably one of your like favorite coaches to bet on, just because like you're a believer in the system about like kind of you don't really need like a crazy star quarterback. You don't need like a star running back. Like you don't need stars to like have an efficient offense. Yeah. And like that's why I've always been confused that you're like, yeah, man, they're just like waiting for the other like shoe to drop on Purdy. Cause like this is the use case for Kyle Shanahan, right? Like this is like you don't need that dude back there. Which we've seen time and again with fucking Jimmy G, Nick Mullen. I mean, I remember like a couple times like they would just toss in random motherfuckers back there and like they're playing good football. So
yeah. But I mean the best defense he's faced is the Commanders.
Commanders not a terrible defense. I mean, like
it's not, but they're not.
They gave Dak a run for his money.
That was a weird game, but I mean, so
they still played the whole fucking game.
Now they're playing the Cowboys defense. I mean, so the toughest game was against the Commanders, and they put up 37 points. So I guess it was all right. It was a decent game, but like the Cowboys, this defensive line, like we'll see. Like Purdy, if you watch the highlights, he kept doing this thing where he would roll out with like no time left, and I think a well-coached team can like control that and like I don't know, just keep it contained.
Yeah, but so we said we kind of like to use weighted DVOA towards the end of the season. Obviously takes into consideration how teams have played.
And the Cowboys defense has been slipping, right?
Yeah, and that's been kind of my theory the whole year. Like I've been hesitant because like I just kind of feel like this is a team where we're going to see some regression, and now we're starting to see it. What is interesting,
And I think
is
part of the problems with the Cowboys defense was like matchup too and who they played at the end of the year. Like they played some decent quarterbacks that were able to like escape pockets, make plays with their legs, which I guess is pretty. But like they finally got a matchup with Brady who is not that. Like the Cowboys, I think they're number one in like a short passing game though, which unfortunately, like isn't great for San Francisco because they're going to want to take advantage of that. But I don't know.
I think
I
one thing I really really like here is the coaching mismatch. Like Kyle Shanahan is a much better coach than Mike McCarthy.
dude, at
Um,
this point, I really don't even know.
that's an
Against the spread,
insane take.
yeah, I know it is, but against the spread wise, Mike McCarthy's he's been crazy at covering spreads for the Cowboys.
What about in the playoffs?
Well, that was just his second playoff game, right? Last year, the first playoff game against the Niners, they lost.
What, yeah, I mean, like, what about Green Bay?
Uh, I guess not great, right? Only one Super Bowl. I mean, he won a Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan can't say that.
Yeah, he also had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time on his team. So you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I don't think you can say the Cowboys at this point are like a poorly coached team. I know, like we think Mark McCarthy's an idiot, but like,
because he is.
yeah, maybe. I mean, Kyle Shanahan isn't great in game either, but like Dan Quinn's a great defensive coordinator. He gets that defense coached up for like situations, and if anyone's gonna like give Purdy like his first tough game, like it can be this Cowboys team. I'm still betting on the Niners though because I think they're gonna. I think they can still prevail. I think, especially it's just a tough matchup too. Like short rest for the Cowboys going across the country. I seem to that trend that said like teams in the spot like off a big overperformance, like a big cover that are playing back-to-back road games. They're like 0-15 straight up in playoff history. And if you look at the regular season too, it's still like a 40% cover rate or something. So there's a lot of trends that back the Niners here that I like. So betting there. But I don't think this is like a complete mismatch or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like the number. I like San Francisco. Yeah, I think I'm really ready to ride with San Francisco to make a little bit of a run here. We were talking about deep passing and how that is the weakness of the Niners defense, as evidenced by DK. And I don't know if Tyler Lockett had any deep balls, but um and yeah, that's not concerning. I think where it does get concerning is when you start looking at the Eagles. I think
yeah.
what's his name? AJ Brown. If you like in many respects, I think the pairing of AJ Brown and Devontae Smith is a slightly upgraded version of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And then same thing with like Hurts over Geno. And so like if that gave the Seahawks a little bit of an edge, I think that would be hugely advantageous for the Eagles. So yeah, and just yeah, man. I mean, like it's crazy. You can look at like you can get the Eagles right now plus 165 to win the NFC Championship, and that feels way too long for me, given that they're the one seed and that like SF has to go to them. And like, that's essentially like that just doesn't make any sense to me, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I wonder what that spread would look like then, plus 165. I mean,
That's
I think they're telling us that the Niners game would be close to a pick 'em or something like that in Philly.
well, I mean, what this is saying is that the Niners would be favorites in
But what are
Philly.
the Niners odds? Are they
Uh,
favorites?
yeah, plus 145 compared to the plus 165,
Yeah, I guess that's what it's saying.
which is crazy.
I mean, so Vegas like months ago they told us that like their power ratings included it was Bills, Chiefs, Niners, and this was like when Jimmy G was still starting, and we thought that was a little bit crazy, but they just kept winning. But we did see signs of this in the past too, like where Vegas wasn't rating the Eagles as high as other teams. Like remember week 2, the Vikings went to Philly, and for some reason that line was 3, and it came down even to like 2-1. Just kind of crazy. And then we saw, what was it? The Eagles went to the Eagles, after the first loss, they went to Indy and they're only like 6.5 point favorite. Something midway the year where the Eagles lost a lot of respect in Vegas.
Didn't they cover both those games?
So I think the Colts one was a scare, but they smoked the Vikings. Like the Colts one, they almost lost.
I think they did cover it though. Oh
But
no, they didn't. They won 17-16. Yeah, I remember they kind of started slow and they couldn't get the offense going the entire day.
yeah, but the Eagles are, healthier. Jalen Hurts is, I expect him to look good. I think Lane Johnson's back. Avonte Maddox is back. I mean, I guess if you say like their only weakness has been like their run defense in the past, and I think Jordan Davis is back now too. So the run defense, I don't know how much of a weakness is going to be at this point, but statistically, the Niners' run game hasn't been great this year. It's been their passing offense led by Brock Purdy, and the Eagles have the best passing defense in the league. They limit wide receivers and tight ends to like their lowest production consistently. If this is like in Philly, yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't be betting on Philly at home. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, if I'm you right now, I'm probably playing the Niners conference future because at plus 145, like we both are feel pretty and for added context for anyone listening, Gabe has a really long odds Eagles Super Bowl ticket. So like I'm saying play the conference future on the Niners because you're not going to get you're not going to be able to hedge at that number if and when, based on what we're projecting to happen this upcoming weekend, the Niners travel to Philly. You're not going to be able to get as good of a hedge opportunity.
yeah, but what if I don't want to hedge? Like I think I would bet on the Eagles to beat the Niners.
I'm just saying when you
So
have
maybe,
isn't your ticket like plus 5,000 or something?
yeah,
You probably
I'm
want
a
to hedge
rider though.
just a little bit.
I don't
But
know. I'll think
I
about
mean,
it. We got a couple days.
it's 50-1, bro. Just put a half unit on it. Like it just gets something. Like make your money back if they don't win. Like it's still, I mean, like Vegas is telling you it's not likely they're going to win the Super Bowl, and I agree with that. So like you should make some money along the way.
I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it. But
All
I don't
right.
know if they're telling us like Philly's not likely. I think it's just they're rating San Francisco really high. But I like that bet, especially if I can get, I don't know, Philly under. Like, if I get Philly a dog at home, I might add more.
Yeah,
I like to go all in.
I feel you.
Yeah. I
But
don't want to be rooting for two different teams in the same game.
it's kind of fun though. The middle life is fun. It's what
Yeah.
I was living last night until
Oh,
the.
didn't you have Bucks plus 17.5?
Yep, I took it live. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I took Seahawks plus 17.5 early when they went down to the Niners. And of course, Seattle took the lead at halftime. And I was like, let's fucking go. And then, of course, the Niners put up like 40 straight points. And then Seattle had a garbage time touchdown to DK, and I was pumped. But then they went for two and didn't get it. So they lost by 18.
That's
I was like,
terrible.
yeah,
It's that's a bad beat.
ain't no live betting.
Yeah, live betting is sometimes the bane of me, and sometimes I feel like a god when I get it right. All right, what other games should we talk about? We haven't really talked too much about Philly, or I'm sorry, Buffalo and Miami. What did you make of that one? Like, why were the Dolphins close?
Yeah, Buffalo just mistakes on offense that got the Dolphins back in the game, defensive touchdown. But the Dolphins couldn't do anything on offense. I don't think it had much to say about the Bills' defense. Just Buffalo's offense with Scott Thompson's just not good. But Buffalo fucked around and let teams hang around. And I guess it's another argument for the Bengals at plus 5.
Yep.
Josh Allen still making red zone picks.
That has to stop.
Yeah.
That has to stop.
I saw a pretty bad stat for him. Let me see if I can easily find it. But
yeah, I mean, there's some really questionable decision making going on by Josh Allen that I wouldn't be expecting to see in what is this, year 4?
yeah,
Like he makes some throws that like I feel like we used to see him make when he was a rookie. Where like safety will kind of just be lurking and he'll just like rifle it right into the middle of coverage, thinking that he has the arm to get it through the window, and it's just basically straight to the defensive player.
yeah. I think he had 3 turnovers in this game, multiple times this year where he's had that game.
Yeah, that's what really concerns me about the Bills, and that's why I like the Chiefs so much, is because I don't think Patrick Mahomes makes those mistakes.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, the Bills, maybe they let a 14-point spread against their head too. Um, like I guess we've seen that. Like they get up for this Chiefs game. I guess they did that earlier in this like the season. Did it last year. I'm not worried about a matchup with the Chiefs really for Buffalo. I think that's what they want. I think the Bengals, though, I mean, just considering that a team that has a better defense, like I think you can handle the Chiefs defense at ease. Uh,
Yeah,
Josh Allen, I think he'll put up 30 something, 40 points easily. He'll be laser focused. But the Bengals matchup, I think this can be tough.
yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch. Jags, we talked a little bit about Lawrence's turnovers. We don't really need to talk about the Chargers anymore until next August or whatever. Do you want to talk about the Giants Vikings game? I mean, you said it was pretty boring, but
I mean, yeah, like the first drive, I think Kirk went like seven. Actually, Kirk had a really good game, except I don't know if you saw the highlights, but we had the ball at the end and that 4th and 8.
ooh, I
Like
tuned in live.
people are roasting Kirk, but so if you watch like so JJ was triple teamed. I think
Yep, I
KJ
saw that.
Osborne was double teamed. Adam Thielen is just a shell of
Stealing.
himself and can't get open.
Yeah, no separation.
And then TJ Hawkinson, why was he running that route? Like Kirk said, like I was about to get sacked, which is true. So he's like, I have to get the ball out. And JJ even said post game, like I could not make a play on the ball if they threw it to me. So you
I
throw it to your
think
check down, but why is your check down 3 yards? Your check down should be at least the first down.
but not. I mean, not really. Like, honestly, that is such. I think that's a terrible play call.
But
Like,
yeah, the play calling is the problem. I think Kevin O'Connell had a really bad game.
yeah, I again, I didn't see the game, so I don't know, but like, or at least I don't have a take on that. My take was I watched that game. I watched JJ run a fucking deep corner when you have been getting pressure. What looked like all game was
Every play, yeah.
like Dexter Lawrence was just blowing that bitch up. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have JJ, who's obviously going to draw at least a double team. I watched him get tripled, running a deep out or a deep corner. And so now you've effectively taken away probably the offensive player of the year on that play call. We've already acknowledged that Thielen can't get separation. KJ Osborne, he was also, I think, on a deep corner. And then to your point, you had Hawk coming across, running that drag route. And like, yes, he probably should have gotten more depth, but it's also a drag. Like you don't have time to get that much depth.
Yeah.
And like,
It was definitely the play call because Hawk, he does what he says. He's not drawing the
yeah,
shot.
yeah. And like, again, like knowing that you're trying to get to the sticks, like he got as close as he could. And the thing is like, if Kirk makes that check down, you have to get the ball enough time far enough away from the sideline such that Hawk has like an ability to like make a catch, stiff arm a dude, leap forward, try to like